Welcome everyone to the Essential Ecosystem for Everyday Eden Masterclass. As Valerie stated, this is something that has been in the making since I was a child for sure. And I hope it really resonates with you all, and it really brings so much hope, so much comfort, so much inspiration of what is possible for humanity and for you. And although there are few of us here live, I know that so many people are going to see this. So you got to hear it first. That's all I'm saying. Okay. So that, I don't know what that says about you, but I just know it makes you incredibly special. So I would love to, because I work a lot with energy, as we're going to learn about today, and sound and vibration and song and how it all wonderfully weaves together. I really would just like to take a moment and take a breath so we can calibrate and we can arrive here, all of us. So welcome, Stuart. Thank you for joining us. We're just about to begin. So let us just take this moment to take a nice deep breath in. You may want to put your feet on the ground. We're going to call all our energies from the past. From the future. And the present. Allowing yourself to arrive in the moment of now. Very good. Presence is so much. And when we can just drop into this presence, it is here and now, and everything I'm going to share, which I'm so excited to share. Without further ado, let us do that. So I'm going to share my screen here. Today we're going to be talking about the essential ecosystem for Everyday Eden. And I've been designing this masterclass maybe for the last 2 years. And the reason is that there's so many different ways that I could approach this, that it was kind of hard to decide what I was going to leave in and what was I going to leave out. And it's been this process of real alchemy to understand that what I'm bringing forward within Arise and within the Arise Collective is a natural consciousness model of regenerative holistic leadership. You might not identify with being called a leader at this time, but I think that by the end of this, you may see that we actually all are leading at this time. If we are here on the planet and we are being called and we are longing for harmony and we are longing for well-being with ourselves, with others around us, and also are really hoping to make an impact in this world and make a difference in both our contribution and career, then you will be a leader, right? Then that actually is what leadership is about. Arise has a very big vision. My vision is big because I have seen and awakened to this regenerative power and the abundance of the planet. And I believe that once we reconnect to our own natural divine consciousness, we see that so much of life is benevolent. And what most people desire, those that I've worked with, at least for the last 13 years, in different capacities as a trainer, as a mentor, as a coach, what people have always been seeking is this freedom to express who they truly are, to tap into their sacred gift that is unique to them and to create their everyday Eden. And that is what this PowerPoint and this masterclass is essentially for. My objective with you this evening is to share the most natural, transformational, and easeful way to reconnect with your most empowered self and to actualize the potential within you, this legacy that you have, the soul call that you have that is unique to you, which of course I can't tell you what it is. In my journey of life, from a corporate life where I was a leadership development person, to just my life in general, whether I was also singing in the church or in devotion or in my meditative practice, what I was always essentially trying to do, and what every single person that came to me was actually essentially trying to do, was to say, I want to be free and I want to be whole. And what that breaks down to is we want to, as humans, it is innate that we want to just live and love and lead. And these are kind of the three main categories of life. Would you agree to that? Does that resonate with you? Yeah? Good. So this has been a journey, as I said. We're not going to go into all of who I am because that's not so important as what you'll see after. But just to give you a bit of a background, I did work in corporate. I had a corporate career from 21 to 35. And in my career, every 8 to 18 months, I was promoted and moved on. So I started as a data entry analyst, ended up as an executive and working in leadership development. And a lot of people would have thought it was a success, except it really wasn't. 2014, there was an incredible breaking down of my life. But I knew it was an initiation because I was already spiritual. I spent 22 years in the church. And I also left the church at that time. So I left the church at that time. I lost my father at that time. I ended my marriage of 15 years at that time. And so the live, love, and lead, it like completely crashed. And I had to start again. And what started happening in that time was actually an activation and a strengthening of my multidimensional gifts, which I now use and have used for a while now to support leaders to come into that crystalline clarity that only they can have. There is a universal and unifying truth that I have found with every single human being I have met in my life. And it takes some discerning to find out, like, what is that red thread? What is that common unifying truth that brings humanity together when it seems that every single thing in our world is trying to put us at odds with each other? That you are this and I am different than you. And one of the truths that I have found that is the most prevalent that I'm basing this work on is this truth that we are not broken. We are worthy of being safe and sound. When a human is safe and sound, this is the primary prerequisite for them to do anything in life. Would you agree with that statement? So, you know, a lot of people say, well, if I offer you this and if I offer you this and you offer you this, how much would it cost for you to give up your safety? Nothing. It's priceless. There is no price to it because it's the very foundation of our existence. So realizing that, and then realizing, like, how is it that we do feel so broken? How is it that so many people are questioning if they are broken or worthy or damaged or traumatized beyond repair? I promise you, you are not. And I know that's a big promise, but I dare to make it just because of the transformation I have seen and witnessed in humanity. I have yet to find one that is beyond broken. So we will see where I get this in a minute. For us to dive into this, though, we do have to open Pandora's box. So Pandora is a mythological figure, which is not really important, except she really is because she opened the box. And in the story, it created absolute chaos, you know, all the shit came out. and so Pandora was demonized because of this. But in truth, what Pandora exposes is that we live in a world of paradox. We live in a world of duality. And duality is really tough because for one thing to be right, another is wrong. One thing to be good, the other is bad. And who gets to decide all of this? Well, one of the biggest paradoxes that I've seen that is essentially causing so much chaos in our world today is two things. One, we have underestimated our tenderness and sensitivity as a human species. I'm so strong, I'm so brave, but actually on the inside, it's like it's so tender. Like one word of criticism, it just tears me apart, right? So this sensitivity that we have, which is our love, and on the other side, we have underestimated our strength and our innate power. We have so much power as a human being. It is something that most will try to deny or try to hide, or we see power as completely opposite to love. How many times have we which am I going to do? Am I going to be loving in this moment, or am I going to be powerful in this moment? And this is really interesting because what I have seen is that the deception is that power is not love, or that love is not powerful. Let us go a little further with this. I was in Costa Rica 2019, and I was meditating in the jungle when I got a message from the unified field from Mother Earth, because I hear and I receive messages. And she said to me, a seed, no matter its potential, if left on barren ground, will never produce the fruit it was innately born to give. That makes total sense to me. And in that instant, when I got it, it was beyond logic. It was beyond sense. It was that, that internal knowing when it's like the voice of God speaks. That was this kind of moment. And when I heard it, what happened to me is I understood as a human being, as Lisette, as a woman, I had never ever failed. I am a seed. If I am not planted in the ground, I can never produce the fruit I'm here to give. I have never failed. If I'm left on concrete without any support, nothing is going to happen with that seed except the seed dies. So we are not broken from this very principle. How many times do we not know that we have deserved more than what we have gotten? I certainly did. Do you resonate with that? Did you deserve more than what you got from those that loved you? So one of the paradoxes that has happened is that we have essentially been separated in two parts. This is again another paradox that we are looking at. In the third dimensional everyday reality, we are logical, natural, human, mortal, right? But there is another part to us that is multidimensional. And you will hear a lot of, it's beginning more and more, and I'm absolutely delighted about this, more and more the exposure of this multidimensional human being. Now, the multidimensional human being, you will know exactly what that is by the end of this. But our multidimensionality is the mystery. It's the spiritual. It's that part of us that is divine, that is immortal. And yet we walk around as if we're only logical and we're only human. But we are far beyond that. And when I started looking at this in already 2012, I recognized that we actually have 4 bodies. So this is one of the ways that you can understand the anatomy, as I promised you in the invitation, the anatomy of the human being that is rising. It is this awareness that we are actually 4 bodies. I am one person, but I have 4 bodies, and so have you. We've actually got more bodies, but we're going to focus on these 4. We are a mental body, we're an emotional body, etheric, energetic body, and we have a physical body. We're housed in this physical body. But the amazing thing is that all these 4 bodies, they work together. We might not see them, the multidimensional, unseen, divine part of us, but they are still there and they are still impacting us all of the time. One of the very exciting things that I will tell you is that each of these bodies carries a unique intelligence. The mental body holds intellectual intelligence, this ability to organize consciousness and awareness and thought and processing. But the emotional body, this is our intuitive knowing. This is our, it feels good, it's because it's good. It feels bad, it's because it's not for me right now. I wouldn't even say it's not bad, because again, there is no polarity, right? So when you transcend duality, it's like, okay, this is for me or it's not for me. And only you can decide that. The etheric body is our centennial intelligence. This is cosmic intelligence. That we start tapping into not just what's happening in my field, what I can see, but into a more collective field, because we also live in the collective field. The physical body has innate intelligence. One of the things that I want to tell you, which is incredible about innate intelligence, is that your brain is running hundreds and thousands of processes every single second just to keep you alive. This is not an intelligence that you can read about, but it's something your body does so naturally that we give it up for granted, right? It's like, oh, I just breathed there. Oh, I'm digesting right now. This is an intelligence that your body does with its trillions of cells. So the human being is pretty incredible. When we tap it back into the universal law or the more shamanic principles, we can connect these bodies to the elementals, the air element, water, fire, and earth. So this is all the ancient shamanic understandings, the indigenous people's understandings of divinity, of the divine, of the unseen. So when I started looking at understanding that these were the four that I was dealing with, the question became how to harmonize. And that is essentially what Arise is all about. Arise is understanding that we are multiple faceted pieces. And once we harmonize, we start creating wholeness. So earlier I said we want to live, love, and lead from wholeness, but wholeness begins with us. And in my personal process of harmonization, and with other leaders that I've mentored and guided over these last years since 2013, and this again has been evolving research, what starts happening as we start integrating our air, our mental, our water, our emotional depths, our fire, which is our passion, or our anger, or our rage, right? And our earth element and our physical body and our physical health and our energy, we become harmonious space for ourselves. We become harmonious space for others. All right. So we become this harmonious space. And what happens when we become this harmonious space, it actually allows for this primal wisdom, this instinctual intelligence. Have you ever said something and then when it's out of your mouth, you heard it and you were like, whoa, that was deep. Like, I have never even thought that and now it's coming out of my mouth. How many of you have actually done that? All of you, right? Yes, that is that moment of harmony. This is when there is that connection with the natural and the divine, and we are coming closer and closer together. So this is perfectly natural and perfectly normal, and nothing out of the abnormal. So we can activate these intelligences through frequency, through vibration. More and more of the time we are learning that we are energy. Yes, I am just space. But what the hell does that mean? Well, I get to be a placeholder as this human. But what does this human represent? And it's not just an intellectual thought. It's not just this intellectual thought. Everything that I've ever done, said, thought, gone through, felt, all my trauma, all my success, all my love, all of it is present right here in this moment, delivering this message to you. All of it is present. So the more I harmonize this, the better this is going to go. I don't need to do this well. I just need to flow with what I trust is who I am. Yes? Otherwise, it's not even truth. And when I started really digging deep, not needing to convert anyone or convince anyone of anything, but honestly, my deep revelation became, what are we if not love? What are we if not love? If that is not our highest and our best and truest nature. When we are the happiest, it is because we are loving and being loved by those we care about. So then I thought, why on earth is humanity so bloody confused about who we love, what we love, and why we are here? Why is this confusing? Since a very little child, I was already activated in my multidimensional giftings. I was always multidimensional. And for me, it was very crystal clear that love was the answer. And it was so painful to watch a world, and I'm not saying the world as in the world, as I was looking at the world, but I was looking at my world, my mother, my father, my sister, my friends, my brothers, my church fellow mates, whoever it was, my boyfriends. They would not choose love sometimes. They would be choosing other things, because love requires truth. Love requires consciousness, and they would be even scared because they could see, as a seer, I would look at them and they could see that I could see through the bullshit. and there's no need to be afraid of that unless you're convinced to give me bullshit. Then I'm going to call you on it. Because it's like, oh, I see it. Yeah, don't worry. But that means I also have to deal with my bullshit, because we have to be done with our nonsense. For us to truly connect with soul. Soul is not interested in you being good or pretty. Soul is interested in you, in all of you. All of you is sacred to the divine. This is how it is. But to have this crystalline clarity and then bring it down into this harmonious wholeness, that is our evolution. Yes? So how do we do this? Spirit gave me a clue in 2007, I think it was. I was listening. I was in church at that day, and I got this download or this message, and I would literally hear it, that said, perception and attitude is everything. How we perceive this multidimensionality, it actually comes through our eyes, how we see. And I always thought it was so interesting. Master Jesus would say, let those that have ears to hear and have eyes to see. And I thought, eyes to see? What do we have eyes for if not to see? But the truth is, we actually only see through our lens. And so what we need to do is clear the lens, and so we can see and expand our awareness. And then the question becomes, once I have seen, once I have known, what do I do with it? I can be convinced all day long that love is the answer, and yet in my attitude, if I walk out my front door, and this used to happen for a long time in my journey, I'd be meditating and I'd be in oneness and I'd be connecting to source and I'd tap into the field and I'd be navigating and it's wonderful. And then I'd walk out the front door and then my neighbor was being a jackass. Oh, damn. Right? And now one. So it is this this receiving and transmitting, receiving and transmitting. Now, why is this so important today? It actually has to do with the introduction of artificial intelligence in our world. And realizing that we know that a big shift is coming. But what is the shift about? And I know that AI is part of it, this artificial intelligence. And we have the greatest opportunity of all ages to create what the ancients called the golden era, because we are tapping into spiritual technology, tapping into informational technologies that we have never ever even been close to before. And we have to make a choice as individuals. If we do not recognize the sacredness and the value of human intelligence, then we will choose artificial intelligence over our human brothers and sisters. Just like I said, I was so good with God. I walked outside and then my neighbor's being a jackass. Okay? So how am I supposed to think he's intelligent? But yet, in him is the highest intelligence. In us is the highest intelligence. So the collective and the individual on a global scale is actually choosing again. I believe this is what the preparation has been about for our evolution, and that has certainly been a big thing in my journey. In 2014, I watched a movie called Lucy, and I went to the cinema to watch it. It's a fabulous bloody movie. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you go watch it. It's one of those films that is really awesome. And it was all about this woman accidentally caught in a dark deal, turns the tables on her captors and transforms into this merciless warrior, evolved beyond human logic. And it was awesome. She was in a bad situation. You see, she's like desperate, oppressed. She's on the floor there. She then gets injected by this technology that they've been developing. And she starts evolving. Her, as they put it in the movie, like her brain capacity was getting higher and higher and higher. And then by the time she got to 100, she was the universe. She was this expansive, But until then, there was a lot of bloodshed, a lot of gunfire. She was kicking those guys' ass. Anyone who had ever done her bad, that's it, boy. She was cooked. And of course, I loved it, right? Yay, woman empowerment. Except this is not a sustainable scenario for our planet. Great movie. Yes, great movie. But here's a couple of falsehoods I want to point out about this movie. Hollywood is supposed to be fiction. So we need to start realizing what is fiction and what is real. This is one of the biggest challenges that we have right now as human beings. And it's only going to get more intense as artificial intelligence comes more and more online. Because what is true? What is real? And that is the difference between the age I believe we've come from and the age we are going to. Because it says here on this movie poster, the average person uses 10% of their brain capacity. Imagine what she could do with 100%. Shit. And this is the biggest lie. We are using 100% of our brain capacity. It takes 100% of your brain to keep you alive and breathing and moving those trillions of cells and all those processes that you do day in, day out as a normal human being. So you can trust your brain is running at 100%. What is not running at 100% is our consciousness. Do you see the difference? Big difference. So consciousness is where it's at. But what is consciousness? Well, they've made this all very confusing, but Lizette is going to spill all the beans because it is very, very simple, actually, to explain. And I know this because I want to give you the opposite story of human intelligence with another thing. It should have been a movie called Lizette. Lucy was great, but Lucy was a human infected with this artificial intelligence, and then was in her rage just went badass, right? Lizette was someone who also, a woman caught in a dark deal, turns the table on her captives and transforms into a merciless warrior evolved beyond human logic. And it happened, I've been evolving for my whole life. But the latest initiation was when so that first initiation I talked about was when I left my career and everything collapsed. The next initiation was when I met Neil, who is what I would call a divine counterpart. And I ended up going to Costa Rica, where he had bought this 9-hectare farm. And our plan was, our dream was, in our deep love and harmonious union, that we would invite leaders to come to the sanctuary and learn these processes of Arise. I was already doing these retreats since 2012. And I wanted to find this home and this partner, and we would do all of these incredible things together. And one of the things that I learned 3 years living in the jungle with him, in this beautiful wilderness that we were taming and learning to appreciate, and we lived 3 years literally in open air. I mean, as you can see, the house has no walls. So I was in direct connection with Mother Earth, planetary consciousness, day in, day out. I'd wake up at dawn, we'd go to bed more or less at dusk, off grid, the whole 9 yards, okay? And what was incredible about Neil and I is that we really had roots. I mean, this guy and me, we grew up together in Botswana, where we were born and raised. And then he went off to his military career, and I went off to my corporate career, and then we reconnected. So we had roots. I loved his mother, I loved his father, he loved my mother, he loved my father. And one of the things that I learned, you guys, is when it comes to real joy and real fulfillment, there is nothing on this earth that feels better than sitting around a table with people you love in the most beautiful place on earth, which is the Garden of Eden, and share food with those that you care about, safe and sound. Nothing. I have traveled the entire world in my career. Nothing is like this. So don't be too convinced about what artificial intelligence can give you, when harmony is the innate call of the human soul. How many of you resonate with what I'm saying? Beautiful. Okay, so we got the right crowd here. Yay! Because you could argue with me, and it's like, okay, you can argue with me, but you'll see. Beautiful, beautiful. So, but what happened was, this incredible love affair was what I would call a dojo of love. And we also had to get into paradoxes, and I had to leave. And when I left in 2021, in May, what happened was my next evolution. I had a choice at that point that I was going to get dark, what we call dark. I was heartbroken. I mean, when I left shattered in a million pieces. It felt, my little heart. And I had to heal each piece to come back. But the biggest choice point was, do I forgive? And do I continue to love? And the answer is yes. And we continued still to be together for almost 2 years after that, from a distance. Continuing our evolution, continuing our love, because we knew that this was the divine teaching us a lot. So what I have seen is that through my own experience, when my CDs activated, where today I have clairvoyance, so I can see. I have, my heart chakra is open, so I have clairsentience. I can sense the field, and I have claircognizance. And there's another clair. There's 4 of them. I'm forgetting. Well, they all bloody activated within a month that I came back. And the most beautiful divine things started happening. I was getting these messages. I actually had a retreat with Sharon, who is here. Sharon, so lovely to see you, my darling. Say hi. And Sharon was one of the first people I was on retreat with. And the field had developed to such a degree that when I would meditate and when I would call on the divine would literally just come and serve people. And with Sharon, it was Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene that came to serve her. And what was so beautiful is Sharon didn't even believe in Jesus, you know. She didn't even think the guy existed. Like, so all of a sudden, when we're just sitting and meditating, it's like, okay, I've got this. And I said, there's someone coming towards you. Who is it in the field? And this beautiful being of love shows himself to her and says, I love you, and gave her one of the most beautiful healings of her life. And Mary Magdalene then joined and did the rest. She was relaying what they were doing to her. Because I couldn't see them, but she could. And I was just holding the field. I was just holding the field of love so that she could get the direct healing, the direct messages, the direct transmission for all of her bodies at the same time. And I'm like, oh my God, I've got superpowers. So I have also evolved beyond logic. And my friends, it wasn't 40 years of meditation. It wasn't a yogi practice. It wasn't nothing like that. It was me choosing the power of unconditional love that opens up our crown and opens up our root. And all of a sudden we are connected upstairs. We are connected downstairs. And we are these open channels of the unified field of love. This power, by the way, is wanted very much by all of the ones who want artificial intelligence to be the ruler of the universe. But they are not. The divine creator, which surpasses. Because the one thing that artificial intelligence cannot do is unconditional love. The power of devotion, to understand worship, to understand the soul essence. That is uniquely human. So we are choosing to become masterful co-creators of our lives or to be mastered. Another paradox in this polarity that we live in this world of duality. This is the decision of free will and the most sacred one we are going to make for humanity. Each of us, individually and collectively. I love AI, but as long as AI is here to serve this human being and my sister and my brother human being, when I realized that this was the one thing that I'm willing to live or die on the hill for, I knew I had found my voice. Because I believe in love. Not because I was not heartbroken in a million pieces, that I was not betrayed, but because I know love is the answer. So remembering who we are, this natural divine being, that each of us is a sacred sovereign being. And we do this by mastering the power of love side by side. Although I have these abilities that I've activated, I need to use them in service. So who am I then without my collective? Nothing. I'm just another human being. But you too have sacred powers. And you have your soul gifts and you have your soul journey that is unique and powerful to support others. We often hear we cannot control others, but we can control ourselves. Is this true or false? Because it all comes down to control, right? It all comes down to control. And what are we controlling and who are we controlling or who is controlling us? So we know we cannot control others. This at least is true. We know this. We cannot control others. And I know because I was trying to change him to exactly what I wanted. And he was trying to change me to exactly what he wanted. Until right? And then separately we had to grow in different ways and then stay in communication that way. But I couldn't control him, he couldn't control me. That was clear. But can we control ourselves? This becomes the big question. Because like I proved to you earlier, we have the highest intelligence of the world, of the universe. There is nothing like the human. But can we control ourselves? True or false? Let me know in the chat. Write down in the chat what you think. I don't see any of the chats. Are you guys writing in the chats? Oh, Valerie said absolutely. We can only control ourselves and how we respond. If we let go of our ego and remember forgiveness, then yes, 100%. Okay. Any other thoughts? Okay. So here's what I've seen, is that we can control ourselves, and it's only true if we have mastered ourselves. So it's true, but it's not true, because until I've mastered me and myself and my reaction, and the thing is, because we are this multi-dimensional bodies, we don't actually control ourselves. It arises. And then I have a choice. You know, like when someone says something to you and you get really triggered, you don't control that shit. You don't control that. It's happening, right? It just arises. But to realize that the other cannot make you feel anything. What is arising is yours and is for you. We need to then learn how to master it, how to transform, how to transmute. And that is actually what Arise is all about. All of the training and the academy is exactly what this is about. How do we master the self and the power of love that we are, that it starts reverberating in the field, in my field, and then impacting the collective field as it's starting to do now. Okay, but how? And I say by harmonizing and evolving our consciousness with the frequency and resonance of everyday Eden. Absolutely a constant journey, my darling. So I want to bring us back to the seed and this divine revelation of we are the seed, we get planted in the ground, and now we can bear our fruit. And it's quite beautiful. If we take our tree as our metaphor, it is the most natural thing for this tree to grow year by year, to stretch out its branches, go through its seasons, produce its fruit. And it doesn't have to fight to be what it is. You know, it doesn't have to try to be a mango tree. Meanwhile, it's a banana tree, wishing it was a lemon tree. Oh, the fashion this week is a coconut tree. It just is what it is. There's no value judgment to it. Every tree is unique, just like every human. It thrives in connection and collaboration, and it's 100% reliant on its ecosystem. So what is the ecosystem? Well, the ecosystem is all the elements, relationships, and resources that are needed or provided to be fully supported to grow, to express and enjoy life and potential. And when I started getting so clear on this ecosystem, I started understanding what this ecosystem actually is. This live, love, and lead, right? So what I essentially wanted was to find the unique balance that is me. So if I'm a tree, what kind of tree am I? You know, this is my identity. This is the insight of who I am. One of the ancient texts says, know thyself. Yes, know thyself. This emotional well-being, this vibrant health, this lifestyle that nurtures me, removing my old belief systems and getting free from my trauma and regret. This is the inner work only I can do, this constant journey. But the more I do it, the more I support myself. The second piece is love. 70 to 80% of our emotional well-being is dependent on the health and the support of our intimate partnership. When I say intimate partnerships, I mean the ones that see us. Intimacy is so beautifully written in English because it's like, into me you see, right? So the intimacy that we share is the willingness to share ourselves. Now, we are so attracted to those we love. But if the other is not willing to receive us as we really are, what do? Well, in my experience, I would totally just give up on who I was for the other. That was my MO. I would just, oh, he doesn't like that about me. Okay, I'll put that away in the closet. Oh, I'll put that away in the cupboard. Oh, I'll put that in the drawer. And then the other thing was, if I was very passionate about it, then I was like, oh, don't worry, I'll change him. I'll convince him. Except then it's not love. Right? So then all these dynamics start taking place. And the last piece was lead. When we show up to work that we love to do with the people we enjoy to work with, and we use our gift in the state of presence, we have unlocked our full potential. This makes sense. And I started understanding this ecosystem. This ecosystem was our evolution to truly know ourselves as conscious, energetic beings, redeeming our true identity. When I say arise in natural divinity, this is what I mean. But it required me to solve 3 paradoxes fundamentally. And I'm just sharing what I found in my journey, which I've now turned into this process. But it required me to understand sovereignty, that I am both human and divine. Sacred service, my masculine and my feminine, or the love piece, right? And security. I can have all the inspiration in spirit, but if I'm not bringing it down to matter, if I'm not combining my third dimensional with my multidimensional, then I'm not safe. So we have these 3 different paradoxes that we must solve to embrace our full beingness. In Psalms, it says, he is like a tree planted by the streams of water that yields its fruit in its season, and its leaf does not wither. In all he does, he prospers. She prospers, they prosper. And it was really interesting. I put these 3 paradoxes together, and then I put a 4th paradox on top of it, which was that the divine consciousness, the universe, God, life force, creation force of all that is, actually is both Father God and Mother God, right? Mother Earth, cosmic mother. And it was this balance of 2. What happened in Christ's time is that God became Father only male, right? Only the patriarchy. But what happened and I had served that God for 22 years. So I had very much that mindset. And then when I went into the jungle and I met Mother Earth and her glorious regenerative, healing, shamanic powers, I could see another part of the divine. We are both. And in these 4 paradoxes, it created the flower of life, which is absolutely incredible and cannot be a coincidence. So the essential ecosystem, as I promised I'd share to you, for Everyday Eden is exactly this. It is cultivating and nurturing and regenerating in this wholeness and natural divinity in these 3 areas of life. And it's not that you don't have an ecosystem right now, because you do. The fact that you are here, the fact that you're alive, you have some sort of ecosystem that is supporting you. The question becomes how to elevate each of these pieces so that your experience of life becomes richer and richer and richer and more aligned. Is that making sense for everybody? Awesome. So as we are lifting up this consciousness, because it's not just about getting things done over there, it's understanding that we are conscious creators. So consciousness is actually the life force in which we are creating. So as a human being who is a conscious creator, our most important work that we can do to activate these yogic powers, if you will, these powers of unified consciousness, is that we need to harmonize our different bodies in these 3 different areas. And that has become my quest to teach, and also connecting it, of course, to the soul self, to the essence, to the spiritual. So Sharon says, it reminds me to bring focus back to me rather than circumstances. Absolutely. You know, we as energetic beings, we start understanding it's like these circumstances that we call circumstances is a result of consciousness. And when we can just see it as feedback, it's nothing stuck, it's nothing fixed, it's nothing we can't transform or change, but the change has to come from within out. We cannot wait for the other to change for us to feel better. We cannot, or we can, but then we will not be empowered. So this is our primary choice point.